Welcome back, guys. Equity Podcast. Barrick here, co-owner of Equity Fitness. Today we're talking about how to improve our front rack. You guys know I like to talk kind of like the mindset of things, the soft skills, if you will, but we need to get some of those hard skills in. And today we're going to talk to front rack. This is definitely something that can be super frustrating if you don't have it. Being able to get into a proper front rack just allows you to do so many things that we do in the gym. And if you just physically can't get into that position, it's going to be challenging to do those things. So have some tips here to help you get there. So the first thing is why do we even need the front rack? Or why do we do it? And the reason is it lets us load the body differently. It adds variety to what we're doing. One of the things that I hope we do in the gym here is keep you not bored. That is the reason I started CrossFit, is I was getting bored at the gym, and the front rack lets us throw variety into the workout, and it also keeps our body guessing. Another thing that allows us to do is it requires strength, it requires flexibility, it requires mobility, and it helps. Developing those things are going to help other positions as well. So it's just overall just a great position to work on for your overall fitness. All right, so let's dig in now to how we improve. We're going to focus on three things. The first one is identifying the issue. Then we're going to talk about passive ways to improve our position. And then we're going to talk about active ways to improve our position. So first, identifying what the actual issue is. Just saying, hey, you have a front rack, you can't get into a proper front rack position isn't helpful. So we need to figure out what is the issue. We're going to start with the three main things. What I'm not going to cover is people that are just starting where they just say their wrists hurt. That's just getting used to it. It's not necessarily an issue. Yes, it is uncomfortable, and we've all been there, and we've done workouts, even though we've been doing this for years, that our wrists will hurt, but that's just something that you kind of have to get used to. And if you're doing really wrist intensive workouts, we can lower the weight, lower the volume, try some gear, like some wrist wraps or something to help with it. But what we're focusing on are true limitations with our body. So the primary issue that we see, and the most likely culprit, is your lats. Your lat runs from your armpit. It connects to your arm right behind your armpit, and it goes all the way down to like the top of your butt. It's like on the outside. And if you were to pull into that lat position, you can feel that lat start stretching. So a lot of people, that is the primary issue that we have. The second most common is going to be the inability to externally rotate the shoulder. So when we externally rotate that shoulder, there's a lot of tension, or we just can't move through full external rotation. That's the second most common. And then finally are the wrists. Everybody assumes the wrist is the issue. Generally speaking, it is not the issue. Are there times where the wrists are the issue? Absolutely, and we're going to go over with some stuff to help with that. But generally, everybody has enough to get through that. All right, so that's identifying the issue. Where is that issue? If you're not sure what that is, what your issue is, start from the top and work your way down. If you're trying to figure it out on your own. If you're just like not sure, or you've just been struggling for this with a long time, that's when you start reaching out to a coach, and we can help you identify that issue and help you work through it. All right, so now what if I want to improve my front rack, but like I don't need to improve my front rack. So it's something where it's more like I want to do some passive stuff for it. I want to slowly over time get better at it. So all of the passive things we're going to go over right now, it's stuff that isn't going to take any additional time. You're just going to be focusing and more purposeful in what you're already doing. No additional time. So the first part is warming up. When you're warming up, stop going through the motions and focus and be purposeful on your limiting factor of your front rack. If there's a front rack in that, make sure to spend some time in it. You get to class a little bit early, work on some of the active stuff that we're coming. But basically, in the warm-up, be focused, be purposeful on focusing on that area that you need. Go through the warm-ups and actually, like, you should be breathing heavy. You should be, like, really feeling it. You should be, like, tired. You should be somewhat fatigued after warming up. That's how you know. When you're doing a workout, do you feel more mobile, flexible at the beginning or at the end? At the end. Spend some time in those positions and really focus on moving through that full range of motion and pushing those lats and pushing that external rotation a little bit farther than you normally would. Simple, not easy. The second one is when we are working out, to train, not compete. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. I've done posts, or we've done podcasts in the past about it. Train, don't compete. If I have a not good front rack, and let's say I can only get 2 fingers on the bar when I front squat, and we're front squatting for a set of 5, and I want to try and PR. If that is my absolute goal for that day, I'm going to use 2 fingers. But if I want to try and get better and in the long term, I want my squat to go up 50 pounds, not 10 pounds, then I need to start working on that front rack. So in order to do that, when I'm front squatting, when I'm warming up, I'm going to start with all of my fingers on the bar, right? I'm going to start with keeping that bar on my shoulders the whole time. I'm going to do I'm going to focus on my technique and keeping that as long as I possibly can. On that last set of 5, I'm going to start with all my fingers on the bar, and by the time I get to my third one, after that third one, my pinky pops off. That's all right. You still got better. Instead of starting with 2, you had all your fingers on and just 1 popped off. You got better that day. You might not have lifted the heaviest, but you were able to improve your rack position for the long term. Train, don't compete. There are times you want to compete, but focus on that front rack when you have the opportunity to focus on it. Get harder, work for that better position, and keep that better position as long as you can. So those are passive. Well, another example of the passive is external rotation. Like when we're working on dumbbell front squats, focusing on keeping the elbows out versus letting the elbows come in and just getting into this internal rotation, this bad position here. Sorry if you're listening to this, but we're trying to keep that chest up, those elbows out, and keep that external rotation. Same thing. If you start losing that external rotation, drop the dumbbell, shake it out, and then get back on it, versus just hammering through it. All right, last part. This one's going to be tough. I'm going to talk about them, but in the notes below, I have some links to videos so you can actually see the movements. So the active movements are things that are extra, things that you should be doing, that you can be doing, adding to your program to fix or to work on our issues that we have. So, additional stuff. First off, we can have some additional warm-up time. And the point of the additional warm-up time is to create, in the short term, is to create temporary range of motion. So when you do a stretch and you do a test-retest, generally speaking, that is a short-term range of motion a temporary increase in your range of motion. You're probably not going to be able to keep that long term. Like if you were to just rest for an hour and retest again, you're probably going to have lost that range of motion that you just warmed up. And that's okay. If we're getting ready to do an open workout or a benchmark or something that we want to do really good at, focusing on some temporary range of motion can help you perform the best that you can. And we do that all the time, which is fine. To working on some of these movements that we talk about in a second can help with that. Doing some foam rolling beforehand can give you some temporary range of motion as well. Now, before we get to those specific movements, when we do these consistently, that's when we get long-term range of motion improvements, not just temporary range of motion improvements. Does that make sense? So if you do it once or just on benchmark workouts, you'll get some temporary. But if you're consistently doing it, consistently working through those range of motions, that's when we're going to see results. Start getting it. So we're going to start with the lats. Like I said, that is the most important, or that's the most common one. So the first one is we have where you're going to need a bench, a PVC, and a weight. And we are just doing a laying latch stretch. So you're going to lay on the bench. You're going to take that PVC in your arms, and you're going to hold it like you're doing a push-up, like a bench press, and you're just going to take it behind your head and just let that pull on your lats and just bring it back up. Doing a negative on the way down, and then coming back up on a relatively slow pace is really helpful. So the laying PVC latch stretch is a great movement. The next one, you probably don't really need to see a video, but we do have one, which is a chin-up negative with a pause at the bottom. You do not need a chin-up to do this. You can jump up to it and then control that descent, and then just a slight hold at the bottom. That controlled movement on the way down is going to help lengthen that lat, and over time that's going to help lengthen it, and we're going to be able to increase that range of motion through it. So a chin-up negative, and then add a pause to the bottom of it. We do that every once in a while in classes to really warm up those lats and open those shoulders up. That shoulder, that chin up actually also works on your external rotation as well. How about that? Very similar to the laying PVC latch stretch is a dumbbell pullover. We use that every once in a while for pull-up modifications. And it's another one, it's kind of the same thing as the negative. We're kind of controlling that down, and then we're coming up. All right, so the dumbbell pullover is a really good movement as well. So those are our lats. For external rotation, and there's a million movements that we can do, exercises. You can Google lat mobility, lat flexibility, and find a million. I'm just giving some of my favorites. There's obviously tons out there. The next one is external rotation. So I picked two for this one. The PVC external rotation. This one we're kind of putting the PVC behind our tricep, behind our elbow, and we're just kind of pulling, using that leverage of the PVC to create some external rotation on our shoulder. And we're just spending some time there and then relaxing and going back into it and doing that on both sides. So, holding it for, 5 to 10 seconds, giving it a little bit of torque, a little bit of something on there, and then relaxing. The next one is a laying dumbbell external rotation. So basically you're laying on your side, you have a dumbbell, and you're keeping your elbow pinned to your side, and then you're lifting that dumbbell as high as you can, holding it there, and we're just trying to go up and down. And that one is definitely one that you should probably view the video of. Just to warn you, I am laying on the ground in a very sensual pose, doing external rotation with the dumbbell, so just be careful. External rotation, those are two big ones. Again, there's tons of them out there. Chin-ups can definitely help as well. Those dumbbell front squats can help as well, up and out. Next are the wrists. We have two for this one. The first one is just a standard palm on the floor, wrist and forearm stretch, and you're just going to kind of hold it with the other arm and just kind of hit some semicircles, kind of relax, go back into it, just kind of keep moving finding those little areas that are tight and just kind of keep working on that. That's a really good stretch. We do that one a lot in class as well. Again, that one is kind of hard to just talk about. It's a really easy, it's very simple when you see it on the video, so make sure to check that one out. And the last one is a banded distraction. So we like this for the ankle as well, completely separate idea, but doing distraction work on the ankles, the hips, and the wrists are really, really nice. There's also some banded stuff you can do for the shoulder as well for external rotation. But anyway, wrist distraction, we're kind of doing the same thing as the wrist and forearm stretch, but it's just the opposite direction. That band should be on the front of your wrist, and you're just bending that wrist forward, and you're just going through some range of motion. That band gives you a little bit resistance and lets you get a little bit deeper into that area. And with the back of the wrist, the band doesn't really do much, so it doesn't really help there. So those are the two movements for the wrists. All right, so let's bring it all together. We have some passive, we have some active stuff that we can do. If we want the best results, what should we be doing? We should be doing both of them. Make sure we're IDing the issue. Make sure we know what our issue is. Is it the lats or is it the rotation, external rotation? Is it both? Is it all three? Is it the wrists as well? But make sure we know what to attack. You're not just doing these blindly, right? So those are the two big takeaways. And the last one is, if you need help, we're here to help. That's what we do. That's why we do this. We enjoy helping and we love doing it. So if you need some help, let us know. And get some accessory stuff going. We can do some one-on-one stuff and really figure out what's going on. What kind of things are you guys struggling with? What do I need to do next? What positions? Should I do one on overhead squats? Should I do one on actual squatting of like the hips? We could do one on the hips. We could do one on the shoulders. What are you guys struggling with right now? Let me know. Don't forget, Open's coming up. If you want to work on some skills, let me know, and we could set something up. I think that's all we have today, guys. I really, really, really appreciate all of you checking this out, taking your time out of your day to listen to some guy. I appreciate it. And cheers.